So I'm here this morning with Stephen Ramos. He is a well-known architect here in Charleston who has spent a lot of his career working on large-scale hotels, condominiums, multifamily projects. Most notably would be like Theater Hotel downtown, the Moxie as well. It's up on Meeting Street there. But today we're in front of one of his newest projects, the Charlee. Steve, tell us a little bit about the Charlee.
Sure, yeah, happy to. So the project behind us, you can see here, and there's another building in the background, is what we call the Charlee. It is a mixed-use development in the Elliotborough Neighborhood of Charleston, downtown Charleston. There are 8 residential units here, and then a 2,300 square foot restaurant. 8 units, 4 of which are this white building here, and then another 4 are in the building in the background. All 8 of them, our team is going to hold long-term and operate as short-term rental units.
Okay.
What most people call Airbnbs.
Yep.
So we have 8 units that will be operating short-term rentals. And then the restaurant is a separate component that we'll be leasing out. But we think of the whole place more than just a short-term rental. We almost think of it as a kind of a mini boutique hotel. And so that restaurant component is a major piece of the puzzle.
Okay.
And so that's a quick overview of what
Sure.
we've got going on.
So Steve, in terms of your design and what inspired you to do this project, what were some of the things that you were kind of thinking about incorporating, being downtown, centrally located in Charleston? Tell me a little bit about that.
Sure. Well, with any design project, the first thing I do is look at the context and the surroundings. And so obviously we're in the heart of downtown Charleston. And so Charleston was really the inspiration. So all of the details that you see on the building, like the surrounds of these doorways or the jack arch headers above the windows, those are all things that I've seen in Charleston.
Yep.
So I definitely borrow from things, traditional details that already occurred. There's the mixed-use building in the back. Each unit has a large piazza, very similar to what you'd find on a Charleston single house.
Okay.
A lot of the details that are going to be on the storefront, again, are things that I've seen on great corner buildings in Charleston. So borrow and steal from little things that I've seen in my time in Charleston. And I thought it was important that although we're building this new development, that it really needs to fit in and almost look like it could have been here for a long time.
100%. And I can tell you just visiting the project, and I know it's not 100% done, but right, the styling, the feel of it, it does feel like it fits here and it belongs here and that it's been here for a while. Mm-hmm. So Steve, timing wise, the Charlee, when can people expect to be able to come in and visit and stay at these Airbnbs?
That's a question we ask every day.
All right.
And so the project has been phased. So phase 1 is the 4 row homes, and they are getting really close. I mean, our goal is that they could be operational this calendar year, 2024.
Okay.
First 2 units should be done in about a month, mid-November, where we'll start moving in furniture. So it's going to be kind of a mad dash to, because they're also fully furnished.
Furnished, yep.
Once the construction work is done, and we have what's called a certificate of occupancy, then we have to move in all the furniture and decorations. So there's a lot more to do. But so hopefully December of this year, and then the mixed use building with the restaurant and the apartments should be around March 2025.
Okay.
And I have to put in a plug for Monteith Construction.
Sure.
They're the general contractor, and they've been amazing, just always on top of things. Everything's moving quickly.
Yes.
All the time people walk by. I can't believe how fast that project's going.
Yeah. Well, I know, one of the things I always get a question about is, people looking for good contractors. So, right, once you find one, you always want to hang on to them and hopefully be able to work with them again in the future.
Yeah, I would definitely recommend Monteith. That they've been phenomenal.
Right. All right. So I'm inside the Charlee with Steve right now. And Steve, just tell me a little bit about kind of your inspiration behind the project and what you guys wanted to accomplish with these units themselves.
Sure. Well, first, because these are short-term rental units, what most people call Airbnb.
Yep.
We know that we're trying to accommodate larger groups and make them nice and comfortable with all the things you would want, like a comfortable bedroom, as well as ensuite bathrooms. But then we want to have, nice, comfortable, large gathering spaces. That's really critical when you have a big group. So Every unit, like the one we're in now, has a really wide open and modern and well lit living room, dining, and kitchen. But then each unit also has a large outdoor amenity. For example, this unit has a roof deck, whereas some of them have large Charleston piazzas. So really making it comfortable for our guests, but giving them a great gathering place so they can just make the most of their stay in Charleston.
So Steve, walking through the units itself, I noticed, right, you guys have like these amazing color palettes, and every room and every unit itself has like a different feel or vibe to it. Tell me a little bit about how you guys went along with that process.
Sure. Again, it starts with, we know that we have visitors and guests that are coming to Charleston to stay here, and we want to create a memorable experience for them. So picking maybe more bolder color choices and interesting patterns, things that you might not do in your own home, but you would love to see. We've kind of injected those into to really make it really memorable. So we want people to remember that great bathroom that had the checkered tile. So we have 8 units total, and then we have 4 different layouts. So some of the layouts repeat. And so we tasked our interior design team from Jenny Keenan Design. We said we've got 26 different bathrooms, for example, and we want all 26 to look different. And so as you've seen, as we've walked around, every bathroom has different tile, different color, different patterns. And it's kind of remarkable how many different iterations they came up with. But that way, hopefully we have returning guests and they come back and they can stay in a different unit and get a total different experience. So it's about that experience, making it fun and memorable, but also, each time a little bit different.
And 100%, like I can tell you that each of these units we've been into, it's a different feel. You almost feel like you're in a different space when you walk in the door, and then, just the different colors, I think, make it, evoke that emotion, that feeling. And, it does feel like home too, which is great. And I know a lot of people are looking for that when they're on vacation and they're visiting Charleston.
There's like little things you can do, and the team, again, at Jenny Keenan Design, is taking like a typical subway tile and then orienting it in different directions and making checkerboard patterns. A lot of things we did were not super expensive or extravagant. They were just creative design ideas to make something a little more interesting and memorable.
Perfect. Steve, so we're up here on the roof of the Charlee. Tell me a little bit about the neighborhood. Where are we at downtown?
I'm kind of biased, but I think we're in the best neighborhood in Charleston. It's the Elliotborough Neighborhood, and we're directly adjacent to King Street. That the neighborhood is about 5 blocks that way is King, so you're very close to a lot of the action in Charleston, but you're also in a residential neighborhood. But the best part about it is that this is definitely the mecca for food in Charleston right now. We have the best restaurants in Charleston are right in Elliotborough. You've got Chubby Fish, Burns, Malagon, Estadio, Chez Nou, Zaubao Biscuit. The list just goes on and on. And so the people that'll be staying at the Charlee will have all of these amazing restaurants right at their fingertips. I even left out all the great coffee shops we have in town. So you really don't have to leave. So we love it here.
Yeah, and I can second that. This location, you're centrally located downtown Charleston. You can walk anywhere from here, and if you can't, well, just grab a pedicab or something,
Exactly.
It's very convenient. So yeah, thanks for explaining all that to us.
Of course. Right now we're inside what's going to be the restaurant that's part of the Charlee. And so the restaurant is right on Cannon Street, which is here, and it is approximately 2,300 square feet, and it can seat approximately 100 diners between inside dining, as well as there's going to be sidewalk dining all along Cannon Street. One of the things I really love about the space is that it's going to be flooded with natural light. We've got 100 linear feet of windows along Cannon Street. The glass is going to be 11 feet high. The ceilings are 13.3. So it's going to feel like a grand space, but it's going to be very comfortable. And this is northern light, so it's not going to be really harsh. I'm so really excited about that. We are still looking for a tenant for the space. So if you know anybody that's interested, definitely reach out, because we're going to be leasing this space. Really looking forward to it. The intent is that the kitchen will be back here and that this will be the bar. So right behind the camera would be the front door, which is a corner entrance. So bar, kitchen, and then all of this would be wide open dining space. So it's going to be really beautiful once it's all done.
So Steve, in terms of like residential architectural work, what types of projects do you work on?
Most of the projects I've done have been renovations plus additions.
Okay.
You know, it just seems like there's no shortage of people that have a house that they like and they want to love.
Yep.
And so it's really common that people say, we want a better kitchen and we want to add on to have a screen porch or a master suite. I've done
Very common.
a handful of those now. I've done a few ground up homes. I'm working on one right now. I love to do those, but it just seems more common that people are renovating and doing additions. And again, I'd say
Yes.
master suites, kitchens, and again, screened porches seem to be really popular here in the Low Country.
Definitely.
And so, yeah, I'm not afraid of small projects. I love to do new houses,
Yep.
but
Yeah.
you know, it seems like the addition and renovation world is where it's at.
And I think a lot of people that have been in their houses, like, you
Yeah.
know, you see people more now staying in their houses for a little bit longer. And
Yeah.
right, as their family expands or contracts, right, they have different needs for different spaces now. And that always gets the wheels turning and they want to make changes. And I definitely think.
In Charleston, like a lot of places, the cost of buying has escalated so much that staying put and adding on makes a lot of sense. Not just you're adding on and making a great house, but financially, generally the cost to build an extra square foot is worth it value-wise in terms of how much it's worth when you're done.
Yeah, when you're finished.
Yeah.
Right. So
I think that's another reason why so many people are adding on, because it makes financial sense.
it
also.
does. Yeah. And that's a great point that Steve made. In the scope of things, right, when you're
Not good
looking
for
at
you who's buying or selling houses.
for selling, right? Yeah. But right, in the scope of things, when
Yeah.
you're looking at the project itself, it's right. It's not just the cost that goes into it, but when you look at the full picture of once it's completed,
Right.
and then you're looking at the entire house itself with this new aspect to it, right? There's a lot of value in there that gets added to it.
Right. So you add on 1,000 square foot and it costs you $250 a square foot. Was that $2,000?
250,000.
Right. But it could easily be worth $500 a square foot or 400, some places even more. So
Yeah.
depending on your location, right? So you're building equity into your home as well.
Very good points. So Steve, tell me, for people that aren't familiar with working with an architect, you know, where would you say for someone to start? So if someone is getting ready to do a renovation or some type of a project where an architect is recommended, where can they start?
It's a great question. You know, it obviously depends on the project, you know, like the scale of the project and the scope. Are you just trying to repaint a house,
Right.
and install trim, or are you moving walls or adding on? Generally, if you start to add on to a house or shift walls around, it certainly would help to have an architect, you know, because an architect is a licensed design professional. And so they are trained in all aspects of not just design, but construction. As an architect, you know, I'm never actually building the building,
Right.
but I'm always working with the contractor, right? So the construction is a major component of any project. So projects that I work on, I'm working hand in hand with the GC to make sure that the vision is executed.
Sure. Yep. Okay, so Steve, I know that, you know, a lot of people get kind of overwhelmed sometimes when you mention an architect might be needed for a project, but at what point would it be great to get in touch and consult with an architect?
Well, the earlier the better. So just to give you an example, I did a kitchen remodel for a client in Somerville recently. And so the first thing that I did is I sketched out 3 or 4 different layouts for this one kitchen. And so that was right at the beginning. And then once we reviewed all of these different sketches, my client selected one of them. And then I took that sketch and I developed it further into what a lot of people call blueprints.
Yes.
You know, we just call them construction documents. And then I helped them select a contractor. Contractor took my drawings and then gave them a price. In fact, we had 3 separate contractors provide a price based off of the drawings that I provided.
Okay.
And then I worked with the contractor throughout to the end of the project. So that kind of just gives you an idea of all the different things an architect does.
Yep, a lot of moving pieces.
So generally, the earlier the better,
Yes.
because we're generally creative people, right? So I find a lot of people say, I don't know where to get started. I don't think we want to add on here, but I don't know. What do you think? And I was like,
Yep.
Sure, I love to do that. Like I love nothing more than like a blank canvas and love coming up with ideas, right?
Sure.
That's what I'm trained to do. So because of that, if you have a project that needs some creative energy, then yeah, absolutely an architect, something you should look for.
Definitely good points. So Steve, you've done a lot of commercial work, but you also do residential, and you just mentioned, right, doing a kitchen remodel for a family up in Somerville. So if someone were going to reach out, how can they get in touch with you, and what's the best way to, follow up with you?
Sure. Well, I do have a website, ramosarc.com.
Perfect.
So you can go there, and there's a contact portal there. So that would be the easiest. If you're on Instagram, my Instagram handle is buildings are cool, spelled exactly how it sounds.
And I love it. I love the blogs that you do too.
Yeah. So that would be, you can always just message me on there. Yeah, I love talking to people about projects. I would say for every 5 people I talk to, one of them we move forward, and that's just kind of the nature of the business. So never hesitate to reach out, big or small.
Well, perfect. Yeah. Thanks so much for all the information today, Steve. And right, if you guys need an architect or have a project you're thinking about and want to run something by him, definitely recommend Steve here.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Yep.